More drama in Dalton tonight as Mayor Tiffany Henyard's latest hire is now under fire.
Appointment will be for village administrator. The next person that I'm going to appoint today, Michael, come on up here, will be, you go to the podium. Michael Smith will be the new village administrator for Village Dalton. And the reason for Mike is he has a wealth of great information. He's a young person and ex-politician.
Fox 32 has learned that Dalton's new village administrator has had multiple brushes with the law and was fired from a high school for allegedly sexually harassing a 15-year-old girl.
So Tiffany Henyard has hired a groomer and convicted criminal to be Dalton's chief administrator. This is just crazy. Now, Tiffany Henyard has a history of hiring very questionable people to do things in Dolton. For instance, at one point in time, she hired a convicted child blankist to go into people's homes as a code enforcement agent. I am not joking.
Dangerous criminal past.
He is a registered child sex offender, and he's now been hired by the village to go into people's homes and businesses.
Now, furious village trustees are taking steps to curb the mayor's power. Fox 32's Dane Placco broke the story, and he has the latest from Dalton.
What is the situation involving your background?
Well, my background, the childhood background, over 30 years ago.
46-year-old Lavelle Redmond wasn't happy to see us when we encountered him today behind Dalton Village Hall. But listen again to the person on the phone telling him to stop talking.
30 years ago.
We don't know who that is, but we do know who got Redmond his village job. Redmond is close to new Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard and worked on her campaign. Records obtained by Fox 32 show that on September 20th, Redmond was hired as a code enforcement officer for the village of Dalton, a job that gives him access inside homes and businesses, which is why Dalton residents were shocked when we showed them what we found online.
Oh my God. Don't they supposed to do background checks before they allow these people in these kind of positions?
One would think, right?
Yes.
That's because Redmond is listed as a child sex offender on the Illinois State Police Registry. He served 24 years of a 50-year sentence for taking part in the brutal gang rape and beating of 2 young girls in the Roseland neighborhood in 1991. News reports at the time say Redmond was one of 4 young men who kidnapped the girls and took them to an abandoned garage where they were sexually assaulted and beaten with boards and guns.
I would be terrified.
Now, you would think the mayor would have learned her lesson about hiring people who've been accused of sexual misconduct with children. But no, Henyard doubled down.
My next appointment will be for village administrator.
Tuesday night, Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard appointed a new top aide to a $100,000 a year job, 34-year-old Michael A. Smith, who's been active in South suburban politics for years.
The reason for Mike is he have a wealth of great information. He's a young person and ex-politician. He knows the laws like the back of his hand.
Now, if you might recognize Michael, he has been to many board meetings speaking in support of Tiffany Henyard. Here is my boy Hannibal from the YouTube channel Hannibal is Hungry, putting it together for us.
And we saw this one dude, Mr. Connect the Dots guy. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, but he went to the last board meeting. He is definitely on Mayor Henyard's side.
I wanted to come out tonight as a neighboring resident in the village of Riverdale. And I like to see people involved in the media. But here it is, I have an indicted mayor that's serving in our community, and we don't have this much media coverage going on. But we over here having media coverage here, and we don't put out the good things that is happening. But you guys got to connect the dots, D-O-T-T-S, dots.
Now, Henyard loved this guy so much, she appointed him to a $100,000 job as village administrator. But his background is crazy.
And I'm sure a background check was not ran on this individual.
Public reporting shows Smith has been charged at least 8 times with crimes ranging from domestic battery to official misconduct. In 2012, Smith, then a young trustee in Dixmoor, resigned after pleading guilty to theft when he allegedly stole gasoline by posing as a police officer. Then in 2018, Smith was working as an assistant dean at Thornton Fractional High School when he was fired for sexual harassment of a female student, grooming a student with lascivious intent, and inappropriate aggressive behavior towards a male student. According to his termination letter, Smith was accused of contacting a 15-year-old female student on Snapchat with inappropriate comments and making her his girlfriend. Then earlier this year, Smith was fired from the Echo School District for falsifying information on your employment application.
8 arrests, convictions for theft, fired for falsifying documents, and grooming 15-year-old girls and calling them his girlfriend. This is the person you put in charge of your town? This is insanity. So what is Henyard's team's response to hiring a man who was fired for grooming a 15-year-old girl, has multiple arrests, a conviction, and has been fired for falsifying documents? Here's what they had to say.
Henyard's attorney, Bo Brindley, provided us with a response from Smith saying, quote, DCFS did a full investigation and found the allegations were unsupported. All the charges against Smith were ultimately dismissed with the exception of a single petty misdemeanor. Mayor Henyard renounces efforts by any individual to denounce a man's character based on unfounded allegations and charges that have been dismissed.
Now I want to pause this video real quick to ask you a question. Have you used Google Chrome's incognito mode between 2016 and 2023? If the answer to that question is yes, you could be entitled up to $5,000 or even more because Google was tracking your data even though they said they weren't.
Ever use Google Chrome in incognito mode? You could be entitled to up to $5,000 in compensation. Here's how to claim it.
Well, my firm is currently setting up clients, but time is running out before the statute of limitations expires. So visit browserclaim.com, and find out if you're eligible to join the lawsuit and secure your compensation. Now, with any lawsuit, there are no guarantees of success, but we will put in a good fight. If you've used incognito mode between 2016 and 2023 and want to hold Google accountable for violating your privacy rights, go to browserclaim.com. Now, back to the video. Now, I'm going to say it. It seems like Mayor Henyard likes to surround herself with men who've been accused of sexual misconduct in some way. For instance, her hand-picked trustee, Andrew Holmes.
Holmes serves as a trustee for the village of Dalton. The civil lawsuit against the village of Dalton, Thornton Township, Tiffany Henyard, and Holmes himself alleges that Holmes sexually assaulted a Dalton village employee who we're not naming because of the nature of the alleged crime while on a village business trip to Las Vegas in May of 2023. According to the lawsuit, the employee had drinks with Holmes, whom she thought of as an uncle, began to feel disoriented, then passed out in Holmes' hotel room. The lawsuit alleges Holmes then called Dalton police officer Byron Miles, who was on the trip as part of Mayor Tiffany Henyard's security detail. According to the lawsuit, quote, Holmes began describing a host of his exploits from the trip, many of a sexual nature, to Officer Miles. At some point during his rant, Trustee Holmes made reference to him engaging in sexual activities with a Dalton Thornton employee, and there was some suggestion that the employee may not have had the ability to consent and or did not provide consent. The lawsuit says Officer Miles then began recording the phone call and FaceTimed Holmes. Trustee Holmes then panned the camera toward the bed where Officer Miles could see a woman who was partially undressed. The trustee then moved the camera to various private areas of the woman's body, displaying them on screen, and at times moving or removing articles of clothing as he transmitted the images. The lawsuit alleges when the woman woke up, she couldn't remember anything that happened the night before and was not aware of the alleged assault until informed by Officer Miles when they returned to Dalton. Quoting the lawsuit, at some point during that time, Trustee Holmes was in communication with Officer Miles, and again Trustee Holmes made reference to his exploits in Las Vegas. Trustee Holmes further advised Officer Miles at that time that he had unprotected sex with the female employee while in Las Vegas. The lawsuit alleges that when the officer told the woman what happened, she requested to speak to Mayor Henyard, who was allegedly concerned it could hurt her politically. The lawsuit says Henyard then advised the employee that if the information got out, Henyard would be ruined and all of the work she had done would be lost. Despite assurances that Henyard and then Henyard's boyfriend would handle the situation, the lawsuit alleges the female employee was eventually fired by the village of Dalton. Officer Miles still works for Dalton, but alleges his duties were diminished and he faced retaliation at work. We spoke briefly to Holmes this afternoon by phone, who said he had no response at this time. Not to these allegations. I'm not bothered by it.
Now, let me just put this in perspective for you. These are all Mayor Henyard's handpicked cronies and the charges or allegations against them. Mayor Henyard's number 2, Keith Freeman, bankruptcy fraud. Her handpicked police chief was indicted on bankruptcy fraud and perjury. And the new village administrator, who's been fired for theft, grooming, and what have you. So what do you think the end game for our sweet super mayor Tiffany Henyard is? Do you think she has a silver lining at the end of this rainbow? So now, to be absolutely fair, here is Tiffany Henyard's new lawyer explaining why she is really the victim.
Next, I'm gonna give the floor to Groomer. He's one of my attorneys, and he's gonna speak as relates to what's going on, so you get it from a different person than the mayor. Because every time I speak, it's like on their ears. So I'll let legal speak to you.
Mayor Henyard came to see me and asked to engage my office to represent her because Mayor Tiffany Henyard is under attack. Make no mistake about it, Mayor Henyard is under attack. She is under attack by a corrupt board of trustees that believes that they can subvert the will of the people and take over the mayor's office and the mayor's duties without ever winning that election. She is under attack by underhanded political machine attorneys who control this board. That's what's going on. This attack comes in the form of false statements. This attack comes in the form of frivolous lawsuits and unconstitutional recall efforts. This attack comes in the form of outright illegal conduct committed by this board of trustees. Blatant violations of statutes, blatant violations of the village code. Mayor Henyard has hired me to stand up to these people and to help her take back the mayor's office from corrupt influences that threaten it. And that is why we are here, and that is what we intend to do. Let's be clear about a few things. To begin with, when there is a need for a financial evaluation of a municipality, who is the person that you think ought to do such an evaluation? You would think that you would get a forensic accountant with knowledge of accounting principles to give a fair evaluation and tell you the truth. What did the Board of Trustees do? They hired the failed mayor of Chicago, who is notable primarily for financial questions, financial malfeasance, and financial failures in Chicago. They hired that political actor to do the evaluation. When you do that, you're not seeking a fair answer about money. When you do that, you are seeking political theater, and that is not in the interest of the people, especially not when they want to pay this failed former mayor tens of thousands of dollars of your money to do this evaluation. When you do that, it's not government. It's corruption, and that stops now. After Mayor Henyard was elected, it was the Board of Trustees that brought to Mayor Henyard a municipal expert, so they said, a so-called municipal expert. a man who was supposed to be knowledgeable at all levels regarding village financial resource management, among other things. This man was Keith Freeman. Keith Freeman was appointed by Mayor Henyard because the Board of Trustees said he was an expert. And she listened to Keith Freeman. She relied on Keith Freeman to manage the village finances. When he told her, this is how things are done, this is what mayors do, this is how we do things, she believed him. She trusted him. And when she realized that his actions were not in the interests of the people, that they were not on the lever, what did she do? She fired him. She terminated him. I sat here. Well, she fired him in public after having already fired him in writing. But since then, at every turn, she has had a problem. Mayor Henyard has the right to appoint, and she has the right to terminate. That's the law. That's the mayor's right. That's her power. Okay? That's her power. But at every time we turn around, the Board of Trustees has stepped in and they are insisting that this man, who has mismanaged village resources beyond belief, they insist that he's still employed. They are empowered to keep sending out these emails and pretending to be the village administrator. They insist on keeping a person that everybody agrees squandered and mismanaged the resources of this village. They want this corrupt individual to remain. Well, she has terminated him again and again and again. They have interfered with the mayor's power. They interfered with the mayor's executive power that only she maintained. And they don't get to do that. When they do that, when they get in the way and prevent her from terminating somebody that everybody agrees is a menace to this community, when they get in the way of that, they violate the law. And that stops now. Governance, folks, is only successful if there is what everybody hears and everybody talks about, the balance of power. The mayor has powers as the executive. The board has powers as a legislative branch, and they are separate according to law. They are separate because only if both maintain their independence can we have fair governance. But when the board takes it upon itself to illegally take over the powers of the mayor, and she comes with a degree of inexperience, that's a fact. But Mayor Henyard may be young, Mayor Henyard may be inexperienced. But Jason House, the Board of Trustees, the lawyers who control them and pull the strings, none of those people should mistake the mayor's youth or weakness. Because Mayor Henyard will stand up to power. She always has. She always will. She will stand up against a political opponent who chooses personal ambition over the will of the people. She will stand up to a board of trustees that chooses illegality over order. And she will stand up to their power broker political system attorneys who choose bullying and intimidation over proper legal discourse. She has brought me here to make sure that that stops now. We are here to stand with the mayor and put a stop to all of it, and to make sure that nobody interferes with the will of the people who elected her to do this job. The people are the ones who decide. And with that, Mayor, let's get back to the business of the people.
All right, so I'm sorry about that bad audio, but do you believe the mayor's lawyer? Does he have a point? Is it all the trustees' fault? And is Keith Freeman really the bad guy? Well, let me know how you feel in the comment section. As always, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, do all the great YouTube stuff. My name is Nate the Lawyer, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.